The Lotus Sutra, Chapter 1, Introduction. Thus have I heard. Once the Buddha was staying in the city of Rajagra on the mountain called Gradrakuta, together with a great assembly of 12,000 monks, all of whom were arhats whose corruption was at an end, who were free from the confusion of desire, who had achieved their own goals, shattered the bonds of existence, and attained complete mental discipline. Their names were Ajna Takaundinya, Mahakasyapa, Uruvilvakyapa, Gaya Kasyapa, Nadi Kasyapa, Sariputra, Mahamaugalyana, Mahakatyayana, Anriuda, Kafina, Gavampati, Revata, Pilandavasta, Bakula, Mahakaustila, Nanda, Sundaranda, Purnamatriani Putra, Subhuti, Ananda, and Raula. All of them were great arhats known to the assembly. There were, in addition, 2,000 others, both those who had more to learn and those who did not. The nun, Mahaprajapati, was there, together with her 6,000 attendants, and also the nun, Yashodhara, Raula's mother, together with her attendants. There were also 80,000 bodhisattva mahasattvas, all of whom were irreversible from highest complete enlightenment, Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi. They had attained the Dharinis, were established in eloquence, and had turned the irreversible wheel of the Dharma. Each had paid homage to countless hundreds of thousands of Buddhas, planted roots of merit in their presence, and had always been praised by those Buddhas. They had also cultivated compassion within themselves, skillfully caused others to enter the wisdom of a Buddha, obtained great wisdom, and reached the other shore. All of them were famous throughout countless worlds, and had saved innumerable hundreds of thousands of sentient beings. They were Manjusri, Avalokiteshvara, Mahastamaprapta, Nityodhyukta, Aniksiptadura, Ratnapani, Vaisayaraja, Pradhanasura, Ratnakandra, Kandraprabha, Purnakandra, Mahavikraman, Anantavikraman, Trailokyavikrama, Bhadrapala, Matreya, Ratnakara, and Susa Thavaha. There were altogether 80,000 such bodhisattva mahasattvas. At that time, Sakra, king of the Devas, was also there, attended by 20,000 Devaputras. Kandra, Samantagada, and Ratnaprabha, and the great Devas of the four quarters were there, together with a retinue of 10,000 Devaputras. The Devaputras Isvara and Mahasvara were there, attended by 30,000 Devaputras. Brahma, the lord of the Saha world, as well as the great Brahma Sikhin and the great Brahma Jyotisprabha, were there, together with a retinue of 12,000 Devaputras. The 8 Naga kings, namely Nanda, Upanada, Sagara, Vasukin, Taksaka, Anavatapta, Manasvin, and Utpalaka, were also there, each of them surrounded by several hundreds of thousands of attendants. There were 4 kings of the Kimanas, whose names were Dharma, Sudharma, Mahadharma, and Dharmadhara, and each had several hundreds of thousands of attendants. The 4 kings of the Gandharvas were there. They were Manojna, Manojnavara, Madhura, and Madhurasvara, each of them also with several hundreds of thousands of attendants. There too were 4 kings of the Asuras, called Badin, Karaskanda, Bemasitra, and Rahu, each with several hundreds of thousands of attendants. Mahatejas, Mahakaya, Mahapurna, and Mahariddhiprata, the 4 kings of the Garudas, were there together with several hundreds of thousands of attendants. Finally, King Ajatasattu, Vaidehi's son, was also there with several hundreds of thousands of his attendants. Each of them, after having bowed at the Buddha's feet, withdrew and sat to one side. At that time, the Bhagavat was respectfully surrounded by the fourfold assembly, i.e., monks, nuns, laymen, and laywomen, paid homage, honored, and praised. He then taught the Bodhisattvas the Mahayana Sutra called Immeasurable Meanings, the instruction for the Bodhisattvas, and the treasured lore of the Buddhas. Having taught this sutra, the Buddha sat cross-legged, entering the samadhi called the abode of immeasurable meanings, and remained unmoving in both body and mind. Mandarava and great Mandarava flowers, Manjusaka and great Manjusaka flowers then fell like rain from the sky, scattering upon the Buddha and all of his attendants, and the whole Buddha world quaked in 6 ways. At that time, the whole assembly of such humans and non-humans as monks, nuns, laymen and laywomen, the devas, nagas, yaksas, gandharvas, asuras, garudas, kimnaras, mahoragas, kings and noble empires, having experienced something unprecedented, were filled with joy, and with their palms pressed together, they gazed attentively at the Buddha. Then the Buddha emitted a ray of light from the tuft of white hair between his eyebrows. It illuminated all the 18,000 worlds in the east, known as far as the lowest hell, Avici, and up as high as the Akanistha heaven. All the sentient beings in those worlds, living in the 6 transmigratory states, became visible from this world. The Buddhas in those worlds were also seen, and the Dharma they were teaching could be heard. The monks, nuns, laymen and laywomen, and those who had practiced and achieved the path were also to be seen, while the Bodhisattva Mahasattvas of various background causes and conditions, endowed in various degrees with the willingness to understand and having various appearances, were also seen practicing the Bodhisattva path. All of the Buddhas who had achieved parinirvana were seen, as well as their relic stupas made of the 7 precious treasures. At that moment, it occurred to Bodhisattva Matreya, quote, "The Bhagavat has now manifested the sign of great transcendent power. What could be the reason for this marvel? The Buddha, the Bhagavat, has now entered samadhi. Whom should I ask about this wonderful marvel? Who would be able to answer my question?" Then he thought further, quote, "This Manjusri, prince of the Dharma, has closely attended and paid homage to innumerable Buddhas of the past. He must certainly have seen such a marvelous sign before. I should ask him now." At the same time, it occurred to the monks, nuns, laymen and laywomen, devas, nagas, yaksas, and others, quote, "Now, whom should we ask about the illumination and marvelous sign of this Buddha?" Then Bodhisattva Matreya, wanting to clear up his own confusion, and knowing the minds of the fourfold assembly of monks, nuns, laymen and laywomen, and of the nagas, yaksas, and other beings in that gathering, asked Manjusri, quote, "What is the reason for this marvelous sign, this great ray of light that illuminates the 18,000 worlds in the east and renders visible the adornments of all the Buddha worlds?" Thereupon, Bodhisattva Matreya, wanting to elaborate the meaning of this further, spoke to Manjusri in verse. "O Manjusri, why has the leader emitted this great ray of light far and wide from the tuft of white hair between his eyebrows, raining down Mandarava and Manjusaka flowers, and gladdening the people with the fragrant winds of sandalwood?" For this reason the earth is completely adorned, and this world quakes in 6 ways. And the fourfold assembly is completely enraptured, delighted in body and mind at the experience of such an unprecedented marvel. From the depths of the Avicii hell up to the summit of existence, the ray of light from between his eyebrows illuminates the 18,000 worlds, which shimmer like gold, and throughout all these worlds the births and deaths of the living beings of the 6 transmigratory states of existence, and the good and bad deeds through which they have received good and bad consequences, are all to be seen from here. The Buddhas, the sage lords who teach the subtle and supreme sutra, are also seen. Uttering soft sounds with their pure voices, they teach innumerable myriads of kotis of bodhisattvas. With their voices, deep and enticing, like the sounds of Brahma, they make the people eager to hear them. In each world, they teach the true Dharma. They illuminate the Buddha Dharma and enlighten sentient beings by means of various explanations and innumerable illustrations. To those who are suffering and are cast down by old age, illness, and death, they teach nirvana to extinguish their sufferings. To those who have merit, have paid homage to the Buddhas, and seek the excellent Dharma, they teach the ideal of the Pratyeka Buddha. To those heirs of the Buddhas who have practiced in various ways and are seeking the utmost wisdom, they teach the pure path. O Manjusri, abiding here, I see and hear thousands of kotis of things in this way. There are many such things. I shall now explain them in brief. In these worlds I see bodhisattvas, equal in number to the sands of the Ganges River, seeking the path of the Buddhas according to their various situations. Some undertake the practice of giving gifts, joyfully giving gold, silver, coral, pearls, jewels, conch shells, agates, diamonds, servants, carts, and ornamented litters. They give these things joyfully, transferring the merit to the path of the Buddhas, wishing to obtain this vehicle, which is the highest in the 3 worlds and praised by all the Buddhas. Other bodhisattvas give gifts such as ornamented carts yoked with 4 horses and furnished with railings, canopies, and decorative eaves. Moreover, I see bodhisattvas who, seeking for the highest path, give gifts such as their bodies, flesh, hands, and feet, as well as their wives and children. Moreover, I see bodhisattvas who are joyfully giving their heads, eyes, and bodies while searching for the wisdom of the Buddhas. O Manjusri, I see kings making pilgrimages to the Buddhas, asking about the highest path, abandoning their prosperous lands, palaces, subjects, and harems, shaving their heads and beards, and wearing the robes of the Dharma. I see some bodhisattvas becoming monks, dwelling apart in tranquility, reciting the sutras with contentment. I also see bodhisattvas persistent and courageous, going into remote mountains and contemplating the Buddha path. I see some abandoning worldly desires, dwelling always in lonely places, practicing profound meditations, and obtaining the 5 transcendent powers. I see bodhisattvas meditating with palms pressed together, praising the kings of the Dharma with thousands of myriads of verses. I also see bodhisattvas, profound in wisdom and firm in resolution, asking the Buddhas questions, listening carefully, and retaining everything. Furthermore, I see heirs of the Buddhas, endowed with concentration and wisdom, teaching the Dharma by innumerable illustrations for the benefit of living beings, leading and inspiring the bodhisattvas by joyously teaching the Dharma, destroying Mara and his minions, and beating the drums of the Dharma. I also see bodhisattvas who are tranquil and silent in ease, and never exult, even in the homage paid by devas and nagas. I see bodhisattvas dwelling in forests, radiating light, alleviating the suffering of beings in the hells, and causing them to enter the Buddha path. I also see heirs of the Buddha who have never fallen asleep and are constantly wandering in forests in search of the Buddha path. I see some who are pure like jewels, endowed with integrity and faultless in behavior, in search of the Buddha path. Furthermore, I see heirs of the Buddha in search of the Buddha path who have the power of perseverance and patiently endure those of excessive pride who abuse them verbally and physically. I see bodhisattvas who have been searching for the Buddha path for thousands of myriads of kotis of years, and who have renounced idlers and foolish companions and approached the wise. Having single-mindedly rid themselves of inner confusion, they are meditating in mountain forests. I also see bodhisattvas seeking for the highest path who are giving food and drink and 100 kinds of medicine to the Buddha and the Sangha. They give superb garments and clothing worth thousands of myriads and priceless robes to the Buddha and the Sangha. They give thousands of myriads of kotis of treasured monasteries made of sandalwood and various kinds of excellent bedding to the Buddha and the Sangha. They give clean garden groves full of flowers and fruits, fountains and bathing pools to the Buddha and the Sangha. Thus they give such various excellent things with joy and vigor, seeking the supreme path. There are also bodhisattvas who are teaching innumerable sentient beings the Dharma of tranquility in various ways. Furthermore, I see bodhisattvas who have perceived the essential character of all dharmas or phenomena to be without duality, just like empty space. I also see heirs of the Buddha who are seeking the highest path through this subtle wisdom, their minds free of attachment. O Manjusri, there are bodhisattvas who pay homage to the relics of the Buddhas after their parinirvanas. I also see heirs of the Buddhas who have built stupas as numerous as the sands of the Ganges River, with which to decorate the Buddha worlds. These jeweled stupas are magnificent, 5,000 yojanas in height and 2,000 yojanas in both length and width. On each of these stupas are 1,000 banners, flags, and canopies, and jeweled bells ringing harmoniously. And devas, nagas, humans and non-humans constantly give offerings of perfume, flowers, and music to them. O Manjusri, the heirs of the Buddhas have decorated the stupas in order to pay homage to the relics. These worlds have been spontaneously made as extraordinarily beautiful as the king of the heavenly trees when his flowers bloom. Because the Buddha has emitted this ray of light, I and those with me in the assembly can see these worlds of marvelous and varied beauty. The wisdom and transcendent powers of all the Buddhas are extraordinary. By emitting a single ray of light, he has illuminated innumerable lands. Seeing this, we attain that which we have not met with before. O Manjusri, heir of the Buddhas, we entreat you to rid us of our confusion. The fourfold assembly is joyfully looking up at you and me. Why did the Bhagavad emit this ray of light? O heir of the Buddhas, now answer. Resolve our confusion and gladden us. Why is he emitting this ray of light? Will the Buddha teach us the true Dharma that he obtained while he sat on the terrace of enlightenment? Will he predict enlightenment to us? It is not for a trifling reason that all the Buddha lands ornamented with various jewels and all the Buddhas have been made visible. O Manjusri, you should know that the fourfold assembly, Nagas and Devas, look forward to hearing what you shall reveal. Close quote.